Welcome to Rauta's, one of these really grainy videos. I still haven't gotten to proper lighting for nighttime activities such as this when I'm having beers. In case you wonder why do I even do these videos in the nighttime environment when everything is dark and these weird LED lights give these a kind of a space-like vibes. The thing here is, obviously I don't drink beer during daytime at job. Would be perfect in terms of natural light coming in and all that stuff, but yeah, it's not exactly the most suitable and possible things on earth. Now, jokes aside, this time we have an interesting beer, once again from Iso-Kallan panimo, Iso-Kallan brewery. And previously I've featured Jess and the Ancient Ones, which had a ginger ale and also savuhirvi, smoky elk, which was Dogwood's My Betrothed, Finnish black metal beer. This time it's a Katkeruuden malja, how to say, chalice of bitterness, I guess, from Kuolemanlaakso band, which is this kind of a Finnish doom death combination, which also released a new album not too long time ago. And as with those two other beers from the same brewery, the brewer was nice enough to send me 4 beers of this one. So I've had in different encounters 3 previous beers. Once again, that's just my style, to do this kind of a beer tasting in different settings. That is, for example, yesterday I was gaming later at night and having one of these beers, which then again kind of fit the mood perfectly. And before this one, just like a half an hour ago, when I was shooting this is now Saturday night, almost midnight, I was watching a movie, having a little bit of very kind of a jalapeno flavored chili potato chips. So I was basically watching a movie, having some snacks, and also one of these beers. Now, usually, obviously, I go for rather chilled experiences because that's, I guess, how most people have their beers. And the first one I don't even remember. That was maybe a couple of weeks ago, not a couple of years ago, to have the first tasting. And this one is light beer, Belgium type. This is triple, I guess how you would pronounce it. And in case you wonder, I do have a kind of a bad LED lighting here, but it doesn't really do the justice. But I'll pour the beer in so you at least get a little bit of an idea how this looks like when poured. This is very golden in color. Obviously this LED light is gonna do this color a little bit differently what it would be if this was more natural. Here you hear this reflection of my screen. But yeah, this is very golden. I'll try to show it you this way. Very golden, quite transparent, quite foamy, because this is in fact room temperature now. Why I decided to do this one is, you get a little bit different kind of taste when it's not exactly refrigerator cold, which was pretty much the one I had before. And because this is a 9% strong beer, as the Belgian beer Trappist and stuff like that tend to be. Thing here is, when you have a little too cold, you kind of taste the alcohol even more than what you would if it was a little bit like warmed up. Not exactly room temperature warm usually, but I don't know. I'm no beer specialist. I'm just a beer enthusiast. And I like to experiment with a lot of beers because I don't believe in certain kind of a rule set in stone. I mean, obviously these are all recommendations, like which kind of temperature you should be having your beer and with which kind of stuff. I mean, we all know this kind of you need to have fish with white wine and you need to have beef with red wine. Yeah, basically, so they are good guidelines, but once you start going deeper into the rabbit hole, then you figure out your own rules. I mean, there's nobody to tell you can't have your beer like that. Which is my justification to do it like this. So anyway, like I said, previously had a couple of these beers in different settings. Now it's time to do one in live video setting. Live as I was just opening the bottle and all that stuff, so I don't even know how this is going to taste when it's room temperature, give less. Now, this taste is, well, better when a little bit warmer. Mind you, when I say room temperature, this doesn't really mean like 25 degrees Celsius. This room, this office building of mine, especially during winter times, it's a little bit chilly, which I usually have a long sleeve on. So I don't know the exact temperature, but it's roughly 20 Celsius degrees, which means not exactly warm, but definitely more on the warmer side. This could be a little bit even less than that, but roughly, give or take. Now, like I said, this is a little bit foamy on the top, but not like you're having some stout, but definitely a lot more than your typical lager. Well, I always talk about lager when in comparison about beers, because a lot of people still favor lager beers over others. Obviously, if you're already beer enthusiast and, well, more or less into the different kind of beers, you probably don't even need my video to watch to begin with, because you all know what's going on and you probably are heading your Untapped and beer review videos and sites or whatever. But I'm going to talk about in two angles. First of all, about like being a metalhead and drinking different kind of beers, and also how these different kind of beers taste compared to regular ones, because we all know metalheads drink a lot of alcohol, well, relatively speaking anyway, and we all love beers. I mean, we most do. And the thing here is, like I said, a lot of people like their lager beers, and that is usually no taste, but you get your thirst quenched, and then you also kind of get to the mood. But what happens when you have twice the strength of a beer, that is, as opposed to some 4.7 strong alcohol beer, which is just something that you can pretty much glug, right away, and then you double the amount of alcohol, then it becomes a whole different deal. We all know with different kind of IPAs and different kind of stouts, imperial stouts especially, that when you add more alcohol, that's not necessarily with typical stouts though, or you change the whole structure of the beer, when it becomes more like thicker, which is the case with stouts. So often, it changes your drinking methods or the ways you enjoy it, because when it's more alcohol infused beer, you kind of naturally like slow down, which is also good because you don't want to get drunk after a couple of beers, right? And also then it's more like hey, let's just go for a barbecue and have a couple of beers because I'm so goddamn thirsty. You kind of take these kind of beers to different kind of environments and situations. For example, this is not something that I would say, yeah, go with your food. I mean, of course you can do it, but it's not so much a thirst quencher versus lager ones or even lighter pale ales and whatever, or not even sauna ones. Like I've had some of those beers, like I think I had Savuyirvi and Jess and the Ancient ones, one of those bottles when going to the sauna. I don't do that with these kind of triples, because these are not exactly the kind of beers that I would go and take the sauna as a thirst quenchers. They're too strong for that, and like I said, when you go very, very cold, very chilly with that kind of a beer, it kind of starts losing the taste. But with stronger beers, it obviously brings more the alcohol more present, more to the front, if you will. And that's not something that you want when beer is 9% strong. Now, I don't know, I'm a little bit ranting too much, but this is just how I want to explain why I go with different ways with different kind of beers. With lighter beers, be it sours or be it decent, pale ales or IPAs or lager ones or Kölsch or Pilsner, it's different to go just easy, like suddenly just, do the whole bottle at one go. I don't usually do that, but that's very possible to do that, and you might do it because, you're sweating like a pig. But I would never go with the Belgian kind of beers to do that, because it's very, very, very different. Not only because of the alcohol, but also for other patterns. Now, what you also need to know that because this is a triple, it's kind of sweet. It's almost like having the kind of a banana liquor kind of a thing. Not super sugary, but definitely sweet. And if you're not, used to these kind of beers, you really need to kind of learn to do it. That is the first feeling. I mean, if it's your first time having this kind of a Belgian beer or triple, it might feel like, what the hell am I drinking? Is this beer gone bad or whatever? Now, I do like this in very, very different ways than what I do with hoppier beers. I mean, they have this kind of a bitter taste, which is definitely right up my alley. And this is like going to the opposite directions. Stronger in alcohol, but you don't necessarily notice if you have it in a more temperature. But it's also like kind of a warm experience. It's kind of hard to describe because not necessarily you're feeling the same or thinking about the same. But I do like when the beer is kind of more all around. It's not so much about this how cold it is. It's not so much about how hoppy it is or bitter or sour or any of those kind of cornerstone adjectives you might feel. This is more about enjoyment in the slow fashion way. I mean, there are things like slow cooking. I would say this is slow drinking. For example, it took me almost about the 90 minutes of a movie to finish the beer before this one. Now, some people might say like, what the hell? I mean, 20, 30 minutes might feel slow. But I mean, this is something that I, sometimes do with stronger beers. I just might be sipping it every now and then, especially if I'm having a little bit of snacks. And by the time I'm done with the beer, it is a different temperature than what it began. And I think it's doing the favor for the beer. Now, can't really say I'm going to recommend this to all the people out there. I would say if you love Belgian beers, if you like those some kind of a monk beers, this is definitely worth giving it a shot. It's not the best out there, and it's not the easiest one to get into, but I mean, I kind of like it. When I say I kind of like it, means I don't think it's great. I think it's quite good, but not great. And the thing here is, I really can't put my finger on it. There are just some Belgian type of beers which are very kind of roasted kind of a thing in taste. So they're kind of a dark, and at the same time they're kind of a malty, and they're kind of a sweet, but not too sweet, if you get my idea. And this is on the verge. This is almost like too sweet for me. And mainly because of that, this is not really my favorite kind of a beer. So that obviously, affects the final score. I would say definitely interesting beer, and this is a bold move from the band also to make or get made a beer that is not for bigger audience. I mean, ginger ales are one thing. Sours and India Pale Ales are another thing. They're far from being mainstream ones, but at least they're kind of easy compared to some kind of a 9% Belgium kind of a beer. I would say give it a go, especially if you're a fan of the band. I think it's a must-have, unless you just hate beers in general. But if you like Belgian beers, there's no reason why to skip this one. So, yeah, give it a go. And I don't know how this is available, but this how it looks is pretty cool. The whole graphic thing here, which is then again the same as the band's label cover, album cover, not label cover. And then you will find this basic information, because this is not actually bitter beer. It's IBU is only 24, and this is what kind of malts they're included. And this 9% is no kidding. I mean, it's stronger than what it tastes like. Easy to get into, but once you have a couple of these, it feels like you have had a bottle of wine, or at least half a bottle. Interesting beer, but challenging at the same time. Well, much ranting anyway. Why don't you give it a go? This is available, or should be available, at some bars, probably, and at least in the form of, bottles. Maybe not near you, but should be available in bigger stores, especially in Finland. I don't know how they are shipped beyond the borders of Finland, but who knows? In case you need to ask, mail the brewery and find out. Pretty decent, quite nice a beer, not great, but definitely worth giving a shot. Thanks, and bye-bye.